Nice echo in here.
Morris, Robin, and Barry, it's good to see you again. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say it's good to see you again. It's been about 6 years, really, since...
I think there's a lot of noise going on back there.
Morris, Robin, and Barry, it's really...
We're running again.
Maybe I'll do it the other way. Barry, Robin, and Morris, it's really good to see you again. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that. I think a lot of your fans, and you know, I count myself as one of them, have been wondering, where have you guys been? It's been six years, really, since we've heard an album from you. And
well, in answer to that question, if
Go for it. Yeah. Absolutely.
we've been doing what we call laying back or staying out of the limelight for a little while because many elements. One is the saturation point that our records got to. Around about the period of 1980-81, it just got a little bit out of control, and we decided it was bad for us to continue bashing records out one after the other. We were very tired. It's another element. It was just very difficult for us to keep bashing records out. You know.
I think the principal thing is that we wanted to make a transition, and we couldn't while that image was still so strong in people's minds. I think if we'd have kept bashing the record out every year.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad.
Haven't said anything yet.
I didn't know I had one on. Fantastic.
can we take it from Robin's question?
Oh, we'll start again.
Yeah,
Start again?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You know the writing and all that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and the other artists as well.
Ready? It's really good to see all you guys again, and I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that. It's been a while since the Bee Gees have been in the public eye, and I think a lot of people who have followed your career have wondered about where you guys have been.
We've been off. We haven't made a record in 6 years. We haven't put an album out in 6 years, and we sort of did that intentionally. First of all, we had a tremendous saturation point with our records back then, and we felt it necessary to try and stretch our writing some more, to try and to work with different artists, to try our songs with other artists singing them instead of always ourselves, because we think that develops our writing and makes it better.
I think also if we just stuck an album out every year, it wouldn't be fresh. I think that the key thing about this business is to be fresh and always to try and make something of an event. I think people like that, even fans like to have something of an event. And if we'd just been sticking them out all the time, it just doesn't happen all the time. Not because the music is not necessarily there, it's just because people just they expect it of you all the time. There's a predictability. We just concentrated on other people and expanded our own music through them, which we had tremendous success with. We don't regret that at all, and I think it's good timing that we got back
been good for us.
Yeah, the years we've been, I mean, we've always been together. We've always written songs together. We've always been working together. It's just not as the entity as the Bee Gees, but as the Brothers Gibb. So we've been writing together, even on the solo stuff. We've all been writing for each other and working with each other on their separate or whatever we did separately. So we've always been together. We've never actually gone apart from each other.
It just didn't feel right to be the Bee Gees.
Yeah.
We weren't going solo, for instance. We were doing solo things. We were just expanding each one. I did film scores. It expanded my writing in that area, and I can now do that. And they had their experiences with their solo albums, the same thing.
Fully expanded now.
I'm fully expanded now.
Completely.
Complete expansion.
Not that much.
We're also trying to. I think the element of actually having families now is very important to us. We had to spend time with our children, and they're all sort of growing up now, and that's great for us. But we had to spend time at an important time in their lives. You just simply cannot do all those things. You can't be a pop group and give your children attention as well. So they were important elements. You know?
So in point of fact, this decision to sort of kick back or lay back, to sort of push back a little bit was really conscious, but I know for a fact that guys...
Yeah, it wasn't actually even laying back. We were very busy.
I was just going to bring that point up, obviously.
We take offense to that.
Obviously, guys that are as creative as you and are so, you know, music is such a part of what you do. You can't really lay back that far, and I think people that have followed your career have seen, you know, have been able to follow you through production and songwriting. Talk a little bit about that. What have you been doing in this 6-year period?
The thing that we did, not the first thing, that's ridiculous, because we did many records with other artists
since
way
we
back
laid
through
up
the
on
years.
ourselves, yeah.
Since we laid back, we did the Barbara Streisand album, and
Woman in Love, Guilty.
we went from that to, I think it was Kenny Rogers, and
No,
then
it was Heartbreaker.
Dionne Warwick,
And the Heartbreaker album.
the Heartbreaker album,
Then came
Diana Ross, Chain Reaction,
Islands in the Stream.
Islands in the Stream, that one, yeah.
And we also did the Staying Alive picture, but we don't talk about that.
And Morris, you were doing soundtracks as well.
Yes, I did 3 films. 1 came out. Stop. Oh, this is ridiculous. What's going on? Somebody playing with a tarantula?
Do you want to go from the same question?
Yeah, let's go from that. I think it's
Yeah.
important. I'd like to talk about what you guys have been doing in the 6 years since the Bee Gees have dropped out of the public eye. And obviously you individually and even collectively haven't really, stopped doing what you've been doing, which is making
no,
music.
we started by getting involved with other major artists like Streisand. We did Barbara Streisand's album called Guilty, and we were all involved in that. It's always been a team situation. We went from there to the Kenny Rogers or the Dionne Warwick album, I think. Kenny Rogers album with Dolly Parton.
Islands in the Stream.
Yeah. The Diana Ross album with Michael Jackson, and Chain Reaction, which came off that album. And all these situations were fairly successful. Well, I was saying fairly. I was sort of playing
I'd
sort
say
of
very.
modest.
Moderate.
Robin's not modest, you see.
No, not at all.
And so we went through all of that, and it's first of all, it's a tremendous education to work with these people, and especially to our writing.
Tell me a little bit about working with somebody like Diana Ross or Barbara Streisand. I mean, do you approach the projects differently in that respect of this is a different artist with different needs, a different career?
Right. We view that artist as a fan. If we're working with a major artist, or whether it's a major artist or not,
You're the fan or they're the fan?
we're the fan. We look upon the artist as a fan. I'm telling him.
You tell me.
I'm just being devil's advocate.
Yeah. We approach the artist as a fan. We don't approach the artist, go to the artist. We look upon the artist as a fan, and we try to imagine what kind of songs or what kind of music we would like to hear that person sing. And not necessarily from a viewpoint of a producer, or we treat it in a very simple way. What would we like to hear Barbra Streisand sing, or what would we like to hear Diana Ross sing? We love those artists, we follow them for years, but we want them to sing a certain kind of song, and we would write that certain kind of song. And 95% of the time, the artist would react immediately to the song, saying that's the kind of song I want to do. So we've been fortunate in that the songs that we write usually appeal to the artist we're working for.
Your music has also played a large part in film and cinema. And Morris, I know for a fact you've been doing some soundtrack work. Is that something that you're interested in pursuing as well?
Well, I'm interested in all the aspects of this business, actually. I mean, particularly the film side. And we're all very, very experienced in the record side. And it's just another avenue that one seems to want to go in some kind of other area of the business.
It makes it more exciting.
And scoring for films was a pain sometimes, and sometimes it was great. But I had to experience that. A good friend of mine in LA once told me, you're going to bleed when you start scoring for films, which was a very respected film scorer. And I thought, well, I definitely want to go into this and try this. And it expanded my way of feeling for music, and especially doing the whole underscore as well.
Sure enough, 2 weeks later when he was doing the score, someone plunged a knife in his chest, and he did bleed.
I did bleed quite a bit. But you meet another world of people. It's another world of people that you're dealing with. And especially when a film has 4 producers and each one wants some different kind of cue for a certain part of the film, it can be quite confusing, and usually you're the last they use. The last thing they do to a movie is put the music on. So you can work on a film for 2 years and not do anything until the end of the 2 years, and then all of a sudden, okay, it's time for you. So it's a little frustrating sometimes, but it's a great experience. I mean, I still like doing it. I mean, it doesn't put me off.
And both Robin and Barry, you had solo albums in that period of time.
Mm-hmm.
What was that experience like? I mean, you were sort of stepping out on your own.
Well, I think, I can't really speak for Robin, but I mean, I think individually it gave us something that we were doing as individuals, which made us feel good about ourselves. Whether those projects were successful or not, it was time for us to just be human beings for a while individually. and not be an entity of three people, because I think as human beings you sort of need that. So we decided to feed that for a little while.
It's made us work together better as a
Yeah,
group. The
because when you come back together as a unit, you're fresh again, you get a little bit of hunger about what you're doing.
You work out other ideas that you can work out vocally with each other that you didn't do before, that work well together.
But we all still work together. It's a strange thing. I mean, I was like co-producing with Robin on his album. So we did the album together, we wrote the songs together. And same as Barry's, we wrote some songs for Barry's together, he produced that. But it was all still involved.
Oh, yeah.
I think the next question that sort of comes to mind is, here you've had this tremendous success, really, with outside artists, production, songwriting, every aspect, really, and yet you've come back together as the Bee Gees in, in 1987 with a whole new record and perhaps even reflecting some of the stuff that's gone before. Why come back together? What is it about the collaborative process that you find so appealing?
I think it was just time. We had worked with so many good people, and we just felt that they're having the success as well. I mean, we just sort of, as being brothers, I think, was the most important part.
I mean, being brothers
It's the creative element as well. Yeah. We are very creative people, and we just can't just sort of shut ourselves off. It's like a painter. He paints all his life. He just doesn't paint when he gets to a certain point and says, well, I'm not painting anymore. It's something that we have to do, and we enjoy it. We've had time.
We do it better together than when we're on our own. And it comes from being brothers and growing up with the same thing in mind and having that kind of communication.
I think people are really interested in that whole collaborative process, especially among brothers. How does that work with you? Is there a real give and take? Could you just give us a little insight, a little backstage glimpse of that?
Well, what we do is, let me give an example. Maybe Alan's in the stream. Any example? We have a little room called our writing room, which has bars on the window. And
no one can get in.
And no, we can't get out. And what we do is we set up a microphone and a cassette. It's very unsophisticated. We set up a microphone and a cassette player, and we have an echo unit in the room with amplifiers, which makes us sound like we're actually singing on a record. Just gives you echo, and it makes it sound like a record. So you can imagine it being a record before you even start writing. And that's how we work. We imagine that we're already writing a finished song. And by doing that, the process comes faster. You get excited about what you're doing, singing in the room with the echo.
Toilets are pretty good for this.
We used to sing when we were kids, we used to find big toilets, not just little toilets. I'm telling the truth, and he's laughing.
Or big sewage pipes.
Yeah.
You can stand in
they were
them.
Because you can get different kinds of echo.
All you've got to be careful of is very heavy rains.
Yes.
It can be very messy.
Depending on what song you're writing, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But what we will do is we'll sing and hear our voices in echo and imagine it. That's how Islands in the Stream was written, and well, so many of them were written.
We wrote Islands in the Stream in a sewage pipe, and sure enough, Kenny Rogers was there walking along the pipe one day.
And he heard it.
And he heard it.
He said, Dolly, look.
Is that how the songs on this album came about? It's the same sort of collaborative process, sitting in a room?
The same type of process. We like to fill a room with echo, so that you either sound like you're on stage or you sound like you're actually singing on a record. And we just love echo. And
it's for atmosphere. It's like we have keyboards and stuff that would play strings or that kind of thing, and Barry would be playing guitar or something where I would add colours with the strings to make it build in places, or the warmth should come in, and we all feel that warmth in the same place.
We just do a simple, quick idea of what a record might be like.
And no lyrics, but the melody.
And we look for melody.
And it goes on a cassette, then the next day we'll probably go into my garage and lay a demo down of it.
Well, we'll sort that melody out. That melody could be on 2 hours of tape. We'll keep singing melody until we like the melody we like the most. We'll pick bits of that melody out of the 2 hours, 3 hours of tape that are the best parts that we like. We digest it, you know.
It's fascinating.
And that becomes the song.
ESP is a record that's I think a lot of people have been waiting a long time for. I think what is it that might be different about this record? I mean, that might be unexpected to some people who have followed your career, to your fans.
Well, it's unexpected in the way that it's we think it's a little deeper R&B based than we have done in the past. We think there are inflections or elements from Fever or from any period of our career. There are moments in the album that you can probably
know it's the Bee Gees.
That you know it's the Bee
yes.
Gees, yeah.
But then
and those
again,
things are not done on purpose; they just happen.
It's not that, but we just have an identity, and I think it's like the Beatles and McCartney or the Stones, whatever they do, or whatever Mick Jagger sings or McCartney sings, you somehow know that it's McCartney, or you somehow know it's the...
Well, it's the familiarity of the voice or the style.
Yeah.
Style of
which we don't mind at all. I mean, we enjoy the fact that we have an identity in whatever we do, because that is something we want to keep.
Oh,
The
yes,
music may
very
change, but
important.
we want to keep that identity.
And having written for so many people over this period of time that we've talked about, you've come back and here's this record. Are these songs that you said to yourselves, gee, we want to do this song, we're not giving this one away?
No, because we write as we go. Oh yeah, absolutely. You hear a song, you write a song and you think, well, thank goodness we didn't give this one to somebody else. And we've done that with other artists. We've done a song,
In fact,
we should have been doing that song ourselves. You know?
Islands in the Stream, when we actually did it in our own mind's eye for ourselves, we saw much more sort of Smokey Robinson type of feel in a sort of Motown.
It turned into a country record because of the people doing it.
Yeah.
Well, Heartbreak, I remember going home crying.
Yeah, because Morris always thought that we should have done
I
Heartbreak.
thought that was definitely, you know, us, completely.
It
was
very
so-
much sounds like a song you guys could have done.
Yeah.
The album's
For that
called,
time, yeah.
The album's called ESP. Tell me a little bit about
Well,
that.
the LP itself, although not strongly so, has a subtle concept of the supernatural within the album. And we've tried to include elements within the songs right throughout the album that that gave the impression of the supernatural. Questions about the supernatural, things that we can't explain. ESP is one of those things. Live or Die gives that example. That's about a love story, or it's also about a baby. It's about life and death. Giving Up the Ghost is a perfect example of that. Although it's not dead serious, it's the title
not heavy.
and some of the lyrics will give that hint of the unnatural, or the unexplainable.
And You Win Again, the single. Tell me a little bit about
Well, that's about luck. It's just about a
Because
chance.
Chance,
and,
luck is all really
unexplainable.
intermingled with the
Roll of the
ESP.
dice.
Luck,
Sort
choice
of
with
around
the
top and you sort of
these
push,
elements
Pull it
coming
a lot.
together,
You've got to pull it a lot there.
being in one place
so
at
if
the
you
right
push
time.
it first.
I had questions from people actually around the world that wanted to know these specific answers to these questions.
Oh, yeah.
One was, who initiated the project? I think you've sort of answered that question. Was it a mutual decision?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
We were all dying to get back in the studio as a group.
You see, we weren't that separate. We more or less lived next door to each other in America. So we're always with each other, and we're always either writing. We never stopped
I think
writing.
it goes back to what we said earlier, that it was never, this has been a choice thing right from the beginning. The choice of laying off and doing other people, and the choice of when we should record again. It wasn't sort of instigated by an element that said, hey, why aren't you guys getting together and make an album? It wasn't done like that.
This time we made the decision together about who we wanted to be with, who was going to be our management.
Yeah, another reason we
who
weren't
was-
happy with the record company we were with. So
Yeah.
we had all these choices to make.
What record company in the world did we really want to be with? Instead of waiting for record companies to say, this is our bid and will you go with us? And, well, we don't know.
It wasn't based on a money factor or the
No.
highest bidder or anything like that. It was
We
purely
wanted
creative.
something that we wanted out of all of this finally. Who did we want to be with?
So there's a real element of control here, totally, of
yeah.
having all the elements
Well, I
in
think it's
place.
also, having been around a long time as well, you want to get it right. You want to have, you want to get the
it
people
right.
you want to be with. And you also, if you're going to have, if you're going to do an album and start, or albums, and connect up again as the creative
Yeah.
entity that we were, we wanted to be the way we wanted it.
See, it's never just an artist and it's never just a group, it's a whole team. And if the whole teamwork doesn't happen, it's like making a film. If everybody doesn't do what they're supposed to do, it's not going to happen.
You mentioned doing it right, and I mean, you guys have had a track record of doing it right for a long
We
time.
also have a track record of doing it wrong.
I also have
Valleys and mountains, they call it.
I also have a tracksuit. We'll go into that later.
He won't fit.
Not both of us, anyway. Is
We
there a
shall suggest
sense? Is there a sense in which there was a little pressure, perhaps, in recording this album and thinking,
No.
you know, this is
Well,
history
pressure
making?
was off because it was more of a challenge this time than pressure. Let's make a great album. We were excited and we were hungry to do it.
But
If
that's
we'd have been
fun to-
following a Fever
Yeah.
or a Spirits, that's where you have the pressure. Because you've done something that's been very successful and you didn't know that it was going to be. You didn't feel the pressure when you made the Fever album. When we made the Fever album, the pressure wasn't there. It was just, let's do some music. We didn't know.
The problem
After
with making
fact, it's
Fever,
different.
the problem with making Fever is that the elements were all so far away from each other. We were just a cog. We put the music to a film that we'd never seen. It was all phone calls. We weren't part of an almighty project which everybody was connected with. Not connected, but everyone was filled in on.
It became almighty on its own. Nobody.
It just happened. We were just part of the jigsaw. It came together, it came out, and suddenly it was a smash.
It was a great marriage of movie and music.
It wasn't
That's
where we sat down and
basically.
wrote for the movie, where we saw, now John's coming into the room, we'll write a song here.
But that's what I found funny, having to do scoring. All of a sudden I'm movie viola, and it's like we had no experience of that.
And of course, when it did come out and was such a smash, we were out of control with image, we were out of control with the direction of the group. It's almost like other elements took over. And the music that they used in Fever was some part of our album, our studio album, that was being followed up to Children of the World, which came out in the previous year. And of course, it just ended up being in the movie.
So in a sense, this album really is maybe and perhaps more of a Bee Gees album than
Well, this
than
album
Fever.
it was done with Aretha Mardent, who did the main course album with us. And we've always had great fun and great results from working with Aretha. And we decided to go that way because we lost Aretha as our producer after main course because of politics or business deals. And he was an Atlantic producer. He was, and he wasn't able to do the next album we did because of problems. And so we wanted to go with him and carry on as if we hadn't separated. And what would have happened then had we followed our artistic trail from main course onwards instead of going into the Fever syndrome, which is where we ended up. And that was great. But what would have happened otherwise if we'd done the next 2 or 3 albums with Aretha? Now we want to find out, and that's
It's a sort of meanwhile back in the studio. If it,
Yeah.
But one thing about it, too, he also had great faith in us to go on our own and do our own things after we couldn't get it, which was really nice to hear. You know, so we're...
But, not a great producer.
Ready?
Still writing jokes.
Can we go? I think as much as the music that you guys produce, I think the people are interested in you as individuals. And I think a lot of times, you know, we've seen the Bee Gees as a group, we've seen them as 3 brothers, and there's that identity. But yet, I think anybody that's talked with you or spent some time with you knows that you're 3 very separate people. Is there, well, let me ask you this. It's been asked before, but I think in your case it bears asking again. What do you guys do when you're not Bee Gees? What do you do when you're not together as a group?
Good question.
well,
like in hobbies.
That kind of thing,
Yeah,
sure.
well, I have a film production company, which I've formed, and I'm into some TV stuff at the moment, and then into feature films, which we're just starting off at the moment. I love photography. Let me see. I'm just getting into tennis. Barry's a great tennis player. I'm not...
Barry's into tennis players.
Barry's into tennis players.
How about yourself, Rob?
No, I don't like tennis players. No, I do like tennis players, it's just that I don't play tennis. I like reading a lot. I'm a great reader. I'm perhaps what you might call well-read. But then again, you might not.
Depends on what you've read.
Can we go back there for that?
Beg your pardon?
Dodgy cough.
Oh, I see.
The whole thing?
I had mine surgically removed.
The whole thing?
Just that last bit again.
Robin?
Okay.
Yeah.
Robin, what about yourself?
I like reading. I like a lot of reading. But in exercise, I'm very good. I get up every morning and do 20 push-ups straight out, straight on.
Then he gets out of bed.
Then I get out of bed and somebody comes and thumps my chest, and then I go down for breakfast.
Good as new.
And Barry, what about yourself?
Well, as Morris said, I love, my hobby is tennis. I love tennis. I'm involved in a lot of tennis.
He's probably one of the greatest players today on grass.
And I have a small tournament in Miami every year for the cause of diabetes, which raises substantial amount of money every year for that cause. I'm also a bit like Robin. I like to read. I'm very much into books, supernatural, things that are unexplainable. I collect all those crazy types of books that ghost stories. I love all that stuff.
I think another aspect of your lives separately and together that's rather interesting to people is that you all live very close together, at least part of the time. Tell us a little about your living situation there. It's interesting.
Well, in America, we live closer in the States. Over here, we live, the distances are great.
Yeah.
Morris lives about 60, 70 miles.
Well,
maybe
I'm in
100.
Surrey in Oxfordshire, and he's in Buckinghamshire.
And
then in America, we're all on the same street. It's actually a street of...
Robin is one door next one to Barry.
Yeah.
I'm about 6, 7 houses further down.
how did that come about?
We couldn't get one next door. Oh, you mean... No. Well, actually, Florida actually was. It started off when we did the Main Course album. We were sort of living in England, and it was a very, very funny government in at the time, and it was very high taxes and everything, and not many people could afford to live here. So we had to record in the States, which we did, and we heard of Eric Clapton's album 461 Ocean Boulevard. And you can rent a house over there, and you have staff that come in and cook for you, and you make records in a studio in North Miami. So we tried it out and did the Main Course album there and loved it. I mean, and
Loved Miami.
Food was good as well.
Yeah, yes.
Cuban food.
And the house was on the beach, and we'd sunbake till like 1 or 2, and then go to the studio. It was very relaxed, and it was good fun. And we decided to do that, but after a while, we realized that at that time, particularly, our audience was more in America. And we realized that we had to move because it was terribly expensive to live here. And we decided to move to Miami Beach, which was where the studio was, and we could make the records there. And we rented a few houses for a while, and then we decided, after all the success we had there, we decided to buy and live there.
Obviously now the Bee Gees, this group, this album is uppermost in your mind. Are you still fielding offers, production offers, songwriting offers? Is that something that's sort of ongoing?
Yeah,
for you?
well,
yeah.
yeah, those things do still go on as usual, but
Yes.
obviously we're not making decisions, and we're not taking those things on at the moment. We're going to work on the Bee Gees for a while.
Yeah, we're just going to concentrate on ourselves.
And part of that work, I think, is performing. That's something that is
Yeah.
that an element that's you've been longing to
Yeah,
get back to.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, we look forward to performing and to appearing in front of audiences that might have bought our records, and maybe encouraging a few that haven't to do so. To buy our records. They can.
We can encourage people to perform as well, you know.
Yeah.
Just one last question, and that we've heard the term survivors. It's an overused term, but you guys have not only survived through a long period of pop history, but you've also thrived through that whole period of time.
Performed a few operations as well.
Continued to have hits. What's your secret? How is it that you can?
Very firm family base.
Yeah.
Not the kind of thing you throw out at everyone all the time, but the fact that we're happy at home and we're
But I also think
Yeah.
we still find things exciting and fun, and I think that's the key.
in everything we do.
A lot of groups and a lot of artists, they burn themselves out because they try and do too much, or they get bored with each other, and
We don't take ourselves as seriously as some people take us.
You can't take it seriously. You can't take yourself seriously, and you can't take everything else seriously. You've got to take things certainly to a point seriously, but yourself is something that you shouldn't take too seriously. Then you can have a better view of the world, and you can also, you've got to keep a fresh attitude about everything you do. And we always get excited about every project that we're doing, and we always try to treat everything that we write as if it's our first record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you. That was a good finish, actually.